Every anime, no, every show, movie, book, manga, you name it, they all start the same way. They begin by making the audience promises to try and retain their interest. This opening statement tied in with the packaging of the video from the thumbnail to the title all outline a promise, and that is what we're going to be talking about. The first episode of Chainsaw Man and Bleach Thousand Year War Arc have finally aired. This is a good time to discuss what I felt like hasn't been properly examined before in the anime community. A lot of the time people will explain why they give an anime a chance based on one episode or three, but don't talk about what this episode or episodes should be doing. My hope is that by the end of this you will understand this concept and be aware of it playing out while watching the first episode of other anime. There are a lot of technically good things to look for in an anime like animation, big studios, or voice actors, but these things accentuate the anime. What if I told you one of the most important things that an anime needs to do right is the beginning of the story to get off to a good start? Majority of people won't know anything about the anime as it starts airing outside of a cover image or trailer, a description which boils down to synopsis and genre, and finally the title. These are things to reel you in and build up enough benefit of the doubt with the first episode. The episode's job is to deliver a convincing sales pitch to the viewer to give it a chance for longer than just a couple episodes. These things are the promises, and they should quickly tell us what type of story this is and why it should be enjoyable to stick with it and watch the series throughout. There are commonly 4 promises made: tone, genre, plot, and characters. Tone is telling us the type of feel or vibe the story is going to have. Genre has typically already been promised with the packaging of the story, but can also introduce a subgenre. An example of subgenre would be something like Spy Family, where we are introduced initially to the action of the story, and then the comedic family dynamic as the subgenre. Tone and genre are closely connected and influence one another. Often we will know the tone of the main genre in the first couple of minutes. The plot promise is what progress is going to be made towards something in the story. Character promise is what goals the character or characters have which in some way will interact with the plot. This can lead to interesting stories where what the character wants to do is in conflict with the plot, in rare cases where someone has to give up on their morals or double down on them in a compelling way to resolve the plot. Depending on the viewer's preferences, some promises will mean more or less to them. If characters are your favorite thing in a show, then a strong promise of that type will mean more to you. For myself, plot is king. A good plot promise will keep me watching until compromised in some way. With that said, let's take a look at Chainsaw Man and what's promised of the first episode. What does it tell us to expect from this series? From what I can tell, we should expect a story that is dark and gritty in a violent world filled with supernatural demons. The key to Denji's dreams are demons, whether friend or foe. How this is accomplished is by showing us his twisted, messed up life and then telling Denji to pick a path that leads to that dream. That dream is pretty simple actually. Denji just wants a life where he can do normal things like eat bread with jam and have a girlfriend. This is a simple character promise, but it can have interesting reactions with the plot promise to give us a very unique story. Now, Bleach Thousand Year War Arc. First off, Bleach has an additional promise being made that I haven't talked about. With an IP coming back, there are either 2 things that this promise can try to do. Number 1, it's a reboot where you're told this is the same world and maybe some of the old characters will come back, but the new characters are the focus. This would be shows like Boruto or Yashahime that struggle to maintain old fans' interest, but maybe resonate better with newer ones. Number 2 is when the original was left in a way it can be picked up from where it was left off. In the case of Bleach being a returning show, it's important that fans are promised that the progress made was lasting, and the characters we fell in love with are still here for us to enjoy like it never had gone away in the first place. With Bleach's common promises, we have some returning ones from the prequel, but in a bit of a different way. It appears to be another arc dealing with the end of the world. Unlike last time, the focus initially seems to be just on the end of the Soul Society, but it's likely that this can blossom into more things. The tone is a step up in seriousness and looking quite grim. The plot seems to be about a deadly clash of factions with the opposing one seemingly having an important ace up their sleeve. Then we have our main character's goals to be finding out who attacked them. These promises are important for intriguing us, finding a reason to watch, and to engage us with the things we're interested in. Promise is the beginning, and how the show activates them to deliver is what separates a bad anime from a good one. Expanding further on what has been promised at the start is what separates the good from the great anime. Every plot twist redefines what to be expected, hence the expansion. While watching each episode of Chainsaw Man and Bleach, consider if the progression forward towards the finale makes sense with what was promised in the beginning.